morning. So as you can probably hear in the background, we're in a Dturbo. I thought it's about time I introduced you to my other lady. So cue the intro. So today we've got a little bit of a change of scenery. Nice sunny Norfolk for once. Thought I'd get the Sedan back out, and well, there's your formal introduction in the intro. So let's have a little look at her. Yeah, assess exactly what it is I've built. So right, let's have a little bit of a backstory about how the Sedan come to be, because if you know me, you'll know I love my estates. So this one's a bit of an oddity. Now, when I purchased the Sedan was not actually purchased for me. It was with my money, but it wasn't supposed to be mine. It was supposed to be somebody else's. And of course, they never paid, so I ended up having to keep her. Now, at the time, when I first bought this, the lad who had described it as being an absolute minter had lied through his back teeth. So I'm not going to name and shame anyone in this video, so please don't dig for names. But yeah, basically every last bit of work he'd put into this vehicle was a complete and utter bodge. And for somebody who owns a custom car company, it was fucking disgusting work. So yeah, just to finalise her backstory, basically she wasn't the pretty girl you now see in front of me. She resembled that mound of shit when I first bought her. Welcome to Norfolk, lads. So enough of that. I'm sure you guys are here because you want to see what's under the hood, what's gone into her, and of course if you know me, you know it's going to be something special. Well, here's a lovely old boy. Just asked if I'd broken down. Right, so where are we? Right, so every good car build needs a good platform to start off with. So we'll start with the brakes. I've gone for a GTI 6 master cylinder, the 23mm. In the front we have the GTI 6 brakes, and then in the rear we now have a disc conversion, as this was drawn from standard. Now you can change the stub axles etc to be able to do the disc conversion, but I've done a proper job. This is an xsara VTS phase 2 rear axle. So similar specs to GTI 6, only we've got added toe on the rear arms and a thicker anti-roll bar. Now, let's go into the front. So the top mounts in the front, nothing special. I've just refurbished the OEM hardware in there, all brand new stuff. The legs, don't laugh at me, they're TA Technix. Full of money, they're okay, they got a low, it's presentable. Now the wishbones. The bushings all over this car are pretty much OEM. I didn't want to go too nutty with her because I like to use this as a mild daily road car. So wishbone wise, we haven't gone too leery. We've got a little bit of an OEM upgrade. So there's powerflex purple front bushes, and then everyone will know who's owned a 306 that the P bush on the rear end is the absolute fucking nightmare of a suspension setup. So they've been upgraded to Peugeot partner P bushes. whilst I was in there, of course, it made sense. We've now got 18mm hubs off the HDI, and of course the 18mm ball joints to go with it. So let's talk bodywork. Now, when I first got her, she was poverty spec, so didn't have any of a sports bumper or anything. So this is a Dturbo GTI 6 S16 cabriolet phase 1 front bumper, also known as the big bumper or the sports bumper. Stuck some nice little fog lights with covers in there. Of course, they're not fucking plumbed in, I don't use them, but they look pretty, right? Got some number plates around. Decided to pay homage to Peugeot Talbot Sport. So of course we've got the stripes on the front, always look cracking on early phase 1 grills. Moving around, we have got side skirts. So being poverty spec, it never came with side skirts. Not actually sure if they made a 5-door side skirt until later on in the phase 2 phase 3 models, but that is what these are pinched on the phase 2 phase 3. We've got wing mirror caps. So these are non-painted from factory, but I thought it looked better with them colour coded, so we've done that. We've got the 106, I think it's the GTI or S1 aerial, so I just like the length of it. I'm not being funny, sometimes in life it's all about length, and I just like the fact it makes it look like an RC car, you know what I mean? Headlights. So it comes with some real dingy headlights to start off with. These are single optic Carrello black mask headlights. The black masked from factory, but at the moment I've got several sets of twin optics, so I am looking at putting them in eventually, but I'm trying to reserve the better set to go in the estate. Rear end wise, now not really a lot to dress up back here, apart from the fact it's got a Sedan badge and it's got a Sedan boot. I mean, the boot has got a couple of dents in it, we've got some lacquer peel back here, and we've got bits and pieces to touch up. Now when I got her, she had had an arse end, so the bumper was absolutely fucked. It also had some kind of gash hole cut in for an exhaust pipe, where the previous owner had actually beaten the pipe for clearance to clear the tow bar which comes up and over. But I figured when I was building the exhaust, we've gone 2.5-inch stainless, I would just make a nice rolled tip what followed the factory position. So next, let's have a quick look at the interior. Now, being she was an SL, she's base model, so that means basic things like cloth seats and roll-up windows. Now, I actually liked the cloth seats and the roll-up windows, so I've done little things just to pay homage to them. Like, I actually put skateboard wheels on the handles because I thought it was cool at the time. Now, base model should come with a corduroy carpet. It was holier than a fucking priest, so I ended up having to strip the carpet out and getting a replacement. But of course I couldn't go for anything standard being me, and I don't know if we can see it in this light, but it is actually blue. So that is the rarer carpet from an XSI 5-door. And then of course, me being me, I needed some factory elements in here, so I've got stuff like the factory Peugeot rubber mats in there just to protect this blue carpet. Moving on to the controls, we've got a Grip Royale steering wheel. It has seen better days, but it's still cool. We've got a quick release steering wheel adapter. So yeah, should have been one of those NRG ones what does the ding, but it doesn't do the ding. We've got the really rare dash mat. So they're getting harder to find these days, but this was actually stolen out of my estate because I figured I'm never going to use it in there again. I've also done daft little things, like that's a BMX grip I've turned into a gear shifter just because it's me. We've also got the obligatory boost gauge and all the other good stuff. So yeah, she's just base model as fuck, and that's exactly what I like from this old girl. What I imagine a lot of you have been waiting for, that bonnet popping sound. Now under the bonnet itself, we're very OEM looking, very clean, and that is exactly what I wanted from this build. So it's going to sound arse about face because we've got a top mount intercooler there, but we are indeed a forged engine in this. The reason for that being, these engines are getting harder and harder to find now. After I lifted the cylinder head, I just wanted to take some precautions to make sure I didn't actually blow the engine up properly. Starting with the bottom end. Now, if you follow me on social media, you'll recognise the turquoise block and you'll know exactly what's gone into this. But it's had king bearings, forged rods, new rings, all the good stuff, honed the block, the bloody works. If we zoom in there, you will just about make out my ARP head bolts. So of course she's ARP'd. Why have we got ARPs? Because hidden down the back is a GT20, so it's got a hybridized core in it. I've been running it in on the boost pressure, but we'll try and get a little cheeky shot down the back here, because it's bloody hard to see. You can probably just about see my downpipe, but there's a Turbo Smart actuator down there as well, and a few other bits. But yeah, so it's got a GT20 on the stock top mount intercooler. Now it actually runs very well with it. It's still on running in pressure, so I haven't had the bollocks to actually turn it up, in all honesty. But she's done over 2,000-3,000 miles since I rebuilt the bottom end now, and she's going fucking strong. So she's on 18 psi at the moment, hybridized core in the GT20. It's capable of roughly 26 psi. Got the Turbo Smart actuator in the back there. Annoyingly, I've got a 14 psi spring in it. I've got a Go Fast Bits manual boost controller just hidden there. Apologies for that. Just had a lovely old lady in a Citreon C2 pull up asking if I'd broken down. Could hear her approaching in the background. But right, where were we? So the actuator down the back, 14 psi spring, GFB manual boost controller. Now I've got that wound up to about 18 psi, but she is actually struggling to make much more boost pressure. So at some point, if I do want to go more boost, I do need to rip that actuator back out and put a stronger spring in there. Pump wise, haven't done nothing too leery here. So standard XUD pump. I've got some time and advance mods on the inside there. I've got the original, we've lost focus. I've got the original LDA pin in there, which is turned onto its peak set because I've got a 10mm head, so it actually chucks more than enough fuel in there. Between 18 psi and what I've got the fueling set to at the moment, I've got perfect solid coolant temperatures. She doesn't get hot or anything, and I can literally hold her on boost all day. So to be honest, I've not actually had too much of an itch to turn it up much more. She's reliable, it's what we like. Clutch wise, there is a 4-paddle which was modified from an LUK standard clutch by Precision Clutch. So they took the standard pressure plate and modified it for me, mainly because I've had the likes of CG Motorsport in the past and Helix Autosport, and all of them have let me down. So I didn't see the point in spending the big bucks on another clutch. And then to finish off, before we start her up, I've just made a nice little adapter to run a cone filter in there. Yes, it's a warm air sucker, but it looks prettier than the airbox what was originally in there. So this is literally just off factory pipe work, nothing too major, nothing too special, just some nice pie cuts in there. And then of course I've got the 2.5-inch exhaust system, which comes all the way from the turbo back with no boxes. So we're going to start her up now and you can have a listen to her. Right. So we'll give her the old glows. On first key turn. Oh! She is very low and I do struggle to get out of her. Yeah. Runs like absolute clockwork, like an old sewing machine. And of course lots of smoke. Of course everyone recognises that sound of an iconic XUD. So move to the back, and my favourite thing, is just that exhaust. Sounds absolutely beautiful. I mean, there's nothing better than going through the middle of a nice quiet town, pissing everyone off with a turbo what sounds like a boiling kettle. So I'll just have a quick fumble and set this little tripod up, and then I shall show you just how much smoke she produces. So let's give her a bloody rev. That's what we've all come to know and love from a Dturbo. Right, so I did actually bring the Sedan out to go down the unit today because I've got a couple of little maintenance bits to still do on her. The main one today being is the oil breather, oil filler pot, whatever you want to call it. This doohickey on the front of the block. Now, that is a brand new one by a company called Citreon, but when I actually went to put it on, it cracked. There's two seams there. I say cracked, it's an OEM join mark, but they hadn't glued it properly and it come away before I put it on the engine. Now, I glued it back together with some epoxy resin. I assumed that would be strong enough to do it, but obviously that resin has dried out with the heat of the engine, possibly been damaged by the oils from the engine as well, and it started leaking from there again. So that's going to have to come off, and I've got another new one sitting there. And of course, sod's law, whilst filming this, another problem has just re-emerged. So 6 months before taking this off the road, it developed a very slight misfire. It was so rare and intermittent, it was untrue. I could never track it down or find what it was. Now, I replaced the fuel filter housing. I've got clear air pipe mod up to the actual fuel pump itself. Of course, I've rebuilt the fuel pump, but I could never track down this misfire. I do get a couple of air bubbles come up to the fuel pump, but it's nothing major what should throw it off. So this misfire, it leads me to believe it can only be the injectors. It's the one thing in the fuel system which hasn't been refurbed. The only other thing is, I know this was an old veg scummer, so of course it could still be picking up some veg debris from the tank. I could have a blocked strainer on the tank, or it could just be jelly coming up and getting into the fuel pump, getting past it, getting to the injectors. So it's a couple of bits to look at, but yeah, we've still yet to get to the bottom of that. So thinking about that last clip, that was a little bit of an incorrect statement. If there's jelly in the fuel tank, it should not be able to get past the fuel filter. Now, the fuel filter housing underneath did actually have some little bits of dirt in it, which I did not clean out properly. So I'm embarrassed about that myself, but that could also be what the issue is that those little bits have got their way up to the injectors, and they might just be jamming the needles in the injectors. But so at some point I'll be addressing that. I'm hoping to actually get a pop tester so I can rebuild my own injectors. I already rebuild my own fuel pumps. I know they're bloody mint fuel pumps. So the next step for me would be to have a pop tester, start stripping injectors, ultrasonic cleaning them, and checking their brake pressures to know that I've got, well, not only brake pressures, but their spray patterns to know that I've got some sweet injectors there. This won't only just help this build, but potentially my Land Rover, and also of course the 306 estate. So now you've formally been introduced to the other lady in my life. So cheers for listening to the waffle, guys. Give us a like and subscribe if you wouldn't mind, and I will catch you next time.